What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to Down the Wire. I'm Brian Costa.
And I'm Zeke Kransdorf.
And we hope you guys are having a good day today. We are doing fantastic. We got a great episode in store for you. Going to break down some of the crazy storylines going on in the NFL right now, from the future of Aaron Rodgers to Lamar Jackson's whole debacle in Baltimore and so much more. Also going to break down UFC 285's main title match between Jon Jones and Cyril Gane. And finally, we're going to get back to a tradition that we have not done here on this show for quite some time. It is an XFL segment, so I am really excited for what we have in store there. Zeke, I know you're going to be leading that segment.
I'm excited to talk some XFL.
Yeah, that's a segment we haven't done on this show in probably like 3 years, probably since the very beginning of the show when Carter Adams was our first ever XFL analyst. So I'm super excited for that. But first things first, I want to welcome back a familiar face of the show. He's a good friend of mine, and he's going to have some pretty interesting stuff to say about this, about what's currently going on with his favorite quarterback right now and his favorite team. He's a Green Bay Packers fan. He's coming to us live from Poughkeepsie, New York. Mr. Pat Edwards, how are you doing today?
I'm great. I'm ready for everybody's favorite segment, Old Man Yells at Cloud.
It certainly seems like that. Now, the old man that you have called your starting quarterback for the past couple of years now, Aaron Rodgers, his future seems pretty uncertain right now. A lot of people right now are speculating that he's going to be calling the New York Jets his home in 2023. However, he hasn't even confirmed whether he's going to be, playing football next year. So just kind of give me your thoughts on everything right now and, just what you're thinking about this whole kind of craziness.
Well, I've been a big believer in the past couple of years that you shouldn't try to believe anything until it comes out of Rodgers' mouth.
Yeah.
He really doesn't say that much. He just lets everybody talk for him. With that being said, he's now having meetings with the New York Jets organization. He's been in talks with the Green Bay Packers organization. I would imagine that means he's coming back. There's no reason for him to come to New York and talk with the Jets if he doesn't plan on playing somewhere this year.
Sure.
As for where
and by coming back, you just mean to football.
To football. As for where he ends up, I have no idea. We don't know how that meeting went. We don't know if he has other meetings lined up. We know that the Saints are off the table. We know that the Seahawks are off the table, and we know that the Giants are off the table. But beyond that, we have no idea where he could end up. He could end up anywhere in the NFC South. He could end up likely in New York. He could end up back in Green Bay, which probably isn't the best move for Green Bay. And to be honest with you, might not even be the best move for New York, as great of a quarterback as he is.
Yeah. So Pat, you've been seeing Aaron Rodgers, being a fan up close. You're watching him every week in, every week out. And I know that as your friend watching you watch these games, it's quite the time for you. I know you can get pretty amped up. Is that would that be a good word to use?
My roommates are more terrified when I'm not
yelling. Yeah, that's fair enough. I remember it was like, what was it? I think it was like Packers Colts, and the Colts had like a kickoff return for a touchdown, and you slammed my leg with a soda bomb.
Don't make me watch the first half.
Yeah. So that's the thing too. You only watch the first half of Packers games. Explain that.
I only watched the second half.
Or the second half. You don't watch the first half. My apologies.
It's because I'm overly superstitious, and I believe that what I say and do has any effect on the game. Now I sometimes don't even get to watch Packer games at all because it's blacked out in New York with all of the what we have to watch games, or it's at the same time as the Giants game. Yeah. But yeah, no, I am overly invested in something that I have no control over, and it's a very healthy thing to do.
Yeah, that sounds very interesting. Zeke, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I fully understand all the superstition and everything like that. There was one time where, our team was scoring a lot. I'm a Patriots fan, born and raised in Boston. So there's one time the Patriots were scoring a lot on almost every single drive that my brother was using the bathroom. So I just told him to stay in there.
Yeah.
You can watch a rerun of the game. Just
it'll come actually with the Broncos fan who gets banished to the bathroom because with work.
Yeah, pretty much. But Pat, so Packers last year, they obviously they They missed out on the playoffs, were kind of out of it. And, Rodgers didn't, have like the greatest of seasons, struggled at times with Devontae Adams no longer being on the roster. What do you think about the future of this team so far? I know that, that's still kind of in question with his future, but what do you think about the team currently, right now?
I think that the team currently right now, everybody knows their role.
Yes.
And by that, I mean nobody has done their job, and everybody knows what it takes to keep their job another day. Obviously, Matt LaFleur wants to keep Aaron Rodgers because Aaron Rodgers gives the best chance to win now.
Yeah.
With that being said, we're not going to win a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers in the next year or two, and it's probably time to move on. But that's not the fault of Aaron Rodgers. It's the fault of the fact that the roster around him is so much weaker than it could be and should be, and at times was. And whether he bounces back from a weak season on the Packers or elsewhere remains to be seen. He had a lot going on. He was missing his top receiver from the year before. He dealt with injuries. He dealt with a new offensive coordinator. He dealt with a lot of missing links on offense. But if all of those, minus the injuries, are the fault of the Packers and are going to carry into next season, as great of a quarterback as he is, why should you expect to reach the promised land? We can expect to go 9-8 with Aaron Rodgers or 9-8 with Jordan Love. And if we can try to find the quarterback of the future, or at least dump cap space and maybe pick up significant draft capital, that's probably the way to look right now.
Yeah. Now, Pat, I want to ask you about Jordan Love. Was drafted, what was in the 2020 draft he was taken?
Yes,
I think it was the 21st pick.
Something like that. I think it was
kind of a mid-round, kind of first-round selection. And, at the time, the Green Bay Packers, were looking for a potential wide receiver, someone to complement Adams with, or just like another weapon. And I remember that pick stirred up a lot of controversy at the time. Love has touched the field a couple of times. I know he had that one start in KC when Rodgers missed the game due to COVID protocols and whatnot. So, Pat, if he is the quarterback of the future, how confident do you feel in him from what you've seen so far?
We haven't really seen it. We saw a game in Kansas City. We've seen a half here and there. We really don't know what we're getting.
Yeah.
And so I would, as a Packers fan, regardless of who our quarterback is, go into the season with zero expectation of winning a Super Bowl, which is going to be weird because that hasn't happened in about 5 years in Green Bay.
Sure.
We might end up with the next Aaron Rodgers. That's what happened when Brett Favre went to the Jets. We've seen that one before. We might not. And at the very least, if we don't, we're probably going to have a much better roster and a lot more money to spend to improve the roster. And maybe we end up with a good draft pick to try to draft a quarterback in the next year. But the way I see it is Rodgers is tempting mediocrity and Love is rolling the dice.
Yeah.
We have no clue what's going to happen, but it's worth a shot seeing.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know you said that kind of going off Rodgers, you were talking about mediocrity and just like kind of sticking where he is. He's multiple time MVP. He is a Super Bowl champion. If he were to go to a new team like the Jets and possibly get a new sense of motivation by being with a new team, kind of similar to maybe what Tom Brady did with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, got out of a kind of a stagnant situation in New England. Do you think he could return to an MVP form? He's just turned 39 years old. How do you think he would perform?
I think he absolutely could. We'll see what he's like. Hopefully he's healthier this season.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Jets are a more complete team. A lot of flack was thrown at Zach Wilson this year. They might be a quarterback away from competing. They might be a quarterback away from doing what the Rams did a couple of years ago with Matt Stafford coming in.
Yeah.
And nobody looked at Matt Stafford coming out of Detroit and thought that he was going to have a 40-touchdown, 4,000-yard Super Bowl season, but he did. Anybody who watched the NFC North for the past 15 years could have told you that he has a chance to do something really special if he has better players around him. Well, we've been watching the same tape play with Aaron Rodgers for the past 10 years, where if he had a better roster around him, who knows what he could have done, yet he still did everything he has. If he plays with a complete team and he comes back healthy and in a good state of mind and ready to play, if he comes back with that New York Jets team, it could be very dangerous.
Yeah. Now, Zeke, I know that you have, do you have kind of a breakdown of the Jets and maybe if Rodgers was to go there, how do you think that whole offense would really, kind of work around with him?
See, they're a very I feel like they have a lot of pieces there. They have like Elijah Moore. He's a good slot receiver. They have good running back in Breece Hall. They have Garrett Wilson now. They have a lot of pieces. Their defense has always been solid.
They got Uzama from the
they have
Bengals.
CJ Uzama. They have pieces there. We just haven't seen all of those pieces stay on the field consistently together with solid quarterback play.
Sure.
They've had Zach Wilson. He's been just awful. He's
been atrocious. And I'll say this. I went as Zach Wilson as a Halloween costume this year. Right before everything went down with him, right when he still kind of had some weird street cred because of the whole like BYU teammate thing. Like I did it because it was funny at the time. Now it's just like,
now it's sad.
Yeah. Now it's just like a very sad costume if I look back on it.
You had Mike White try his best.
Honestly, Mike White
he was better than Wilson.
Absolutely.
For what Mike White should have been, Mike White did fantastic.
Absolutely.
Mike White is not going to be a first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback. And that's what the Jets could be getting. And we need to see, too, who else joins him.
Yeah.
The Bucs team in 2019 that Jameis Winston had was not the Bucs team in 2020 that Tom Brady had. A lot of big names started to come because they got a higher caliber player at quarterback. We'll see if the Jets do that because the distraction of Zach Wilson is gone. And it's the last chance to try to win a ring with one of the greatest quarterbacks in history.
No, I definitely agree. The idea of ring chasing could be a potential there because, you had Leonard Fournette go to Tampa.
Go to Tampa.
You had Rob Gronkowski come out of retirement. So,
Pat, Ndamukong Suh as well came over. I
mean, Antonio Brown.
Yeah, that was the biggest one too.
See, I think my thing
now he's catching passes at Rolling Loud, but it's he's doing it.
If Aaron Rodgers does go to the Jets, it is imperative. If you're a Jet, like if you are the Jets, it is imperative that you get Rodgers as early as possible. Mm-hmm. So you have
the offseason.
You have the offseason in front of you. You have these top priority free agents coming out, and you're able to get as many free agents to buy in to your organization, buy into your cause as much as possible. Now, the Jets, as great as their roster is, they have to play some powerful teams twice a year. The Dolphins are revamped. The Patriots are still, they're not.
Belichick will give you a game. That's the thing.
The Patriots can be a winning team.
The Patriots absolutely can be a winning team. If they had even a semblance of offense last year, they were, one game out from the playoffs.
Patriots would have been a team if it weren't for a single fumble.
Yes.
Yeah. Or a single backwards lateral. We're not
backwards lateral.
We're not talking about that.
Any of those plays.
And then you also have the Bills too. The Bills are it's a stacked AFC East. So even if Rodgers and the Jets are a combination team, I don't know. Like, it's still gonna be tough to make even the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I look at this AFC East right now, and I'm just like, if the Patriots. If the New York Jets get Aaron Rodgers, I can't see the Patriots finishing any higher than third, most likely fourth. I cannot see that envisioned. Listen, I think that Miami this year, the fact that they were able to get as far as they did with Skylar Thompson as their quarterback was nothing short of a miracle. And if you get Tua, back in the right, lack of a better word, headspace, he could really do some damage down the stretch. And I think that especially if they got him some more weapons on top of Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Mike Gesicki, it could be very interesting there. Maybe shore up that backfield could be that.
Oh, absolutely. They should be one of those people who's looking at the running back free agent market and just like salivating if someone doesn't re-sign.
Absolutely. So that would be if Miami is able to pull that off, it's going to be a very difficult road for the New England Patriots, especially since the Jets for the past, 4 or 5 years now have been an automatic 2 wins easily. So if that becomes more difficult with Aaron Rodgers, it's going to be a very difficult time in that AFC East for the Pats. So that's going to be something to really look at. Whether Mac Jones is able to kind of bounce back in year 3 with Bill O'Brien will remain to be seen. But Pat, do you have any final thoughts on Aaron Rodgers? Any of this stuff? If he is to go, just any final thoughts?
Obviously, every fan of every team, it doesn't matter whether you're a fan of the Kansas City Chiefs or a fan of the Houston Texans, you would like to see your team hoisting the Lombardi Trophy.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, I would have a great amount of satisfaction if I were to see Aaron Rodgers go somewhere like New York and win the Lombardi Trophy while we're rebuilding. I would have an immense amount of satisfaction.
Okay. If that is to happen, if Aaron Rodgers goes to the Jets, in your mind, do they have that leg up in the AFC East? Like, could you see them winning that division? Like, are they your favorites, or do you still have the Buffalo Bills?
Obviously, there's a lot of question marks in that division, but
Yeah.
there's question marks for every team. We need to make sure Rodgers meshes, Rodgers can come back and play at the level we know he has been capable of playing up. We need to make sure that the team stays healthy. But then again, we need to see if Tua can stay healthy. We need to see if Mac Jones returns to 2021 form or progresses. And even with the Bills, the supposed powerhouse in the division, they just lost their defensive coordinator. There have been a lot of shakeups after that loss to the Bengals in the playoffs.
Sure.
We'll see if Sean McDermott and Josh Allen have what it takes to stay atop. And even if they do, the Jets don't need to get to the top. The Jets were 7-10 without Aaron Rodgers, almost in the playoffs, a game difference, and the Patriots were on the outside looking in. 1 or 2 games is the only difference it needs. And let's not forget, in 2010, Aaron Rodgers was 8-6 with 2 weeks to go and had to win every game of the regular and postseason to win the Super Bowl, and he did it.
Yeah.
So we could see a team that is 9-8 go all the way, and 9-8 is all it takes. You can get that in third place.
Same to kind of go off another situation, this is becoming eerily similar to with the when Tom Brady went to the Bucks. They did not win the division that first year. They were a wild card team, and they had to play that extra game, and they won the Super Bowl that year. So it's definitely something that's possible. Could be very interesting down the stretch, especially if they got in there. I feel like the Jets could be one of those teams that, if they mature more throughout the season, because they are a young team. If they're able to mature through the season, get more confidence, I think they could really make that postseason push.
You got 17 weeks to play just well enough to get in. You got 17 weeks to gel, and at that point, you take a young, talented roster with a guy who's been there before, knows what to do, and has all the talent in the world. A lot needs to come together for that to happen, but anything can happen, and I wouldn't call it far-fetched.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Pat, I really do appreciate you coming on the show. I know that you have to run. It's midterms week. I'll let you get back to that study grind. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely. Take care, Pat. Yeah. So thanks again to Pat for joining us on the show today. Yeah. So Aaron Rodgers, that's going to be some crazy stuff going on there. We spoke kind of a little bit on the Pats and how they're going to fall in that division. How do you think Mac Jones is going to return to? Do you think he can return to form next year with Bill O'Brien?
I honestly do. Maybe I'm a Pats fan. Maybe
Sure.
I'm optimistic, but it's someone who is generally familiar with his game. Like, he wasn't the direct coach. He wasn't the offensive coordinator at Alabama when Mac Jones was there, but he knows Alabama's system.
Yep.
He knows the same system that Mac Jones was kind of brought up in. And I honestly, truly believe that with just any sort of offensive coaching, that is, coaching with any sort of knowledge of offense as a whole.
Yeah.
If there's a coach,
just not Matt Patricia.
Exactly.
Just literally not Matt Patricia, because Matt Patricia, for whatever reason, is proven to be just like incapable of running any facet of a team that is not pure defense. On defense, I love Matt Patricia. I think he's great. I heard that there are some rumors about him potentially getting a job on the Eagles defensive staff.
Good
Great.
for him.
Take him. I think honest to God, take him. I don't want just this to be a full team of just Bill Belichick's guys just hanging around here. If you can get him down there and he can produce and he can be kind of a quality guy for you, get him down there. I think he could actually do a really good job. But I do think Mac Jones can return to form. I think that just last year, just the way we ran the offense, it felt like there were two separate offenses, one for Bailey Zappi, one for Mac Jones, and it just never felt like he got a fair shot.
Yeah, it really wasn't. The schemes weren't great. It was Bush League. It really was.
It was, yeah.
That's you can't win in the NFL consistently with a Bush League offense.
No. I mean, like the San Francisco 49ers in that NFC Championship game had to run the New England Patriots offense because they were down to Christian McCaffrey as their starting quarterback. And I'll say this, under the circumstances in which they had to run that offense when you're on your fourth string guy, they ran it better than us.
Yeah, it was
like that's the thing. We did
sad.
that as our starting offense. That was the almost NFC champions, emergency offense plan. And that's what we were doing for 17 weeks this year. It's embarrassing.
Yeah. And I'm honestly surprised that we got even as close to the playoffs as we did.
Sure.
We did not deserve it.
No,
we did not in the slightest.
No, we did not deserve it at all. But, there is some speculation that, maybe the Pats might try to look to do something, instead of Mac Jones next year. I know that, Lamar Jackson just got placed with the non-exclusive franchise tag, which Zeke, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but basically it allows him to, similar to an NBA player, go out and, search the free agent market and see if he can get any offers from teams. And basically, if a team offers him, they can sign him to an offer sheet, which is essentially a deal. And then the Ravens have the ability to match that deal, and then he would return to Baltimore.
Yeah.
So that's essentially what he has the ability to do. But if Baltimore chooses not to match an offer sheet and he goes to the team, I believe that other team has to give up 2 consecutive first-round draft picks, which is a big price to pay, especially since you're going to be essentially helping another team rebuild their entire organization.
It's a big price to pay, yes. But if you look at the talent that Lamar Jackson is, I think that's worth it. I really do. Yeah. If you're a quarterback hungry team, like, I don't know, most of the NFC South, the Buccaneers, the Panthers, even the Falcons, you have teams that are in need of a quarterback desperately. The Lamar Jackson is your guy. You see other quarterbacks getting these huge deals. Trying to think of like
Deshaun Watson.
I mean, Deshaun Watson's deal was ridiculous.
That was a
Russell Wilson's deal. Even Derek Carr's deal was.
Yeah, we'll talk about that too. But you mentioned the Deshaun Watson deal, which is interesting to me. And I was listening to some sports talk radio today, like some Felger and Maz, Zolek and Bertrand, just on like different things like that. And they admit one thing they had said is, is it possible that Lamar Jackson could be there could be a case where some teams just don't take that flyer on him because they don't want to, give up that offer sheet. And, it's potential that maybe the Ravens and the other owners are in on it, just like saying like, hey, don't sign this guy because of his injury history, and maybe they're bad mouthing him.
I mean, it's certainly possible. I feel like a lot of teams, especially after the Deshaun Watson deal, are a lot more apprehensive.
Yeah.
Because, they've seen, hey, 2 teams, you look at the Browns, you look at the Broncos, 2 separate teams have paid huge guaranteed money to quarterbacks and have gotten what? The Browns and Deshaun Watson looked awful when he was playing. Same with the Broncos, and Russell Wilson looked awful when he was playing. So who's to say that giving all this guaranteed money is going to guarantee that your team's going to get wins?
Yeah, it's really no guarantee right now. And frankly, I think that any team is going to be a little apprehensive to make that deal, especially for here's the thing. I think Jackson possibly not playing in that Bengals game at the end really hurt them, because if he had played in that game and, Tyler Huntley didn't go out there and, give Huntley credit, he actually played fairly well.
But that fumble, the costly fumble.
Exactly. But if Jackson was to say, you know what, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to battle through an injury, or just because I think he said he just wouldn't be 100%. And I get the idea that, that RG3 came out there and he said, yeah, you can't just put a brace on these things. I tried to do that and I tore my ACL. So I get the fact that, it's not a surefire thing, but now looking back on it, I feel like Jackson not playing in that game is going to potentially hurt him, because it's going to be like, well, you're a mobile,
like character concerns.
Well, no, not necessarily a character concern, Zeke, but it's, for a guy who's a really mobile quarterback, if he can't get back for a do or die game, and even if he's, if he was saying, yeah, I just wouldn't be 100%, if he's not able to make it back for that kind of a game, and it's like, hey man, I'm hurt, other teams are going to just say like, all right, are you going to be playing on a little league schedule? Are you going to be available late in the season if we need you?
And
which I just don't know right now with Lamar Jackson's history.
Yeah, it's never like a cut and dry black and white situation.
Yeah, no.
But there definitely seems to be a lot more kind of questions about Lamar Jackson rather than even other quarterbacks
Sure.
that have, hit the free agent market. like, is Derek Carr much more of a winner than Lamar Jackson is? No, but
I think Lamar Jackson is a better winner than Derek Carr.
But did Derek Carr get a contract? Yeah.
Yes.
You start to kind of like raise these questions, and I'm not saying anything about like the NFL or that the fact that their owners are a little bit more apprehensive, but let's just say that I did a study about kind of some of the stereotypes and stigma that black quarterbacks face in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm seeing some of the effects of that study kind of rear its head, especially when it comes to how not only sports media, but also how the kind of inside talk that we've heard from like owners and everything like that about Lamar Jackson. You hear things like the Falcons owner being like, "Hey, we don't want him." We have I believe the Panthers said they're out on the Lamar Jackson sweepstakes. It doesn't make sense for these teams to just be out on the sweepstakes.
Well, unless they don't want to be paying the money. I mean,
the money's a whole nother thing.
Because here's the thing with Lamar Jackson, especially now with this offer sheet deal, I think that there gives more precedent for owners to now be out because they're going to have to pony up 2 first-round draft picks. So this was a pretty interesting, pretty smart, I think, decision by the Ravens because now teams are going to say, all right, do we really want to leverage 2 years of our future for this quarterback that we don't even know if he's going to be healthy by next year? That's a thing. Because if we're talking 2019 NFL MVP Lamar Jackson, and there were questions about him getting this type of a contract, I'd agree with you. But with the situation that he's under right now, I think it's a different story.
Yeah, I mean I can give you that it's not exact.
If this was Patrick Mahomes, 100%. If this was Josh Allen, 100%. But because of the situation right now, and you can actually make a case because of Allen's injury history too. But especially with a guy like Mahomes, who went out there and proved, hey, even with a bad ankle injury, that
Mahomes is different. That's a whole nother thing.
Exactly. Like, so I don't know, but a couple of years ago, it was Lamar and Mahomes. That was the argument a couple of years ago. But Mahomes has just blown that out of the water at this point.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's definitely something that we're gonna have to take a look at. But you mentioned Derek Carr. He just inked a new deal with the New Orleans Saints. Cut by the Las Vegas Raiders. Josh McDaniels wanted to move in a different direction, and didn't take long for Derek Carr to find a new home. 4 years, $150 million. How do you think he's gonna fare in the Big Easy?
I mean, the Saints organization has kind of been in turmoil ever since Drew Brees retired. I would say turmoil. I'd say more limbo. Yeah, that's a better word for it. They have just been stagnant,
existing.
They've been there. Yeah, nothing of note.
Mm-hmm.
But you look at their cap situation. I don't know how the heck they're affording all of this.
I mean, I'll say this: like people talk about the cap and all this stuff, and I feel like a lot of the time, like for a lot of small market teams, and in the NFL, nothing's really small market because these guys are all billionaires. I really don't think it's as big a deal as we're thinking, because if an owner wants a guy and wants to get back into a winning situation bad enough, they're willing to pony up the money for it. And I think that's what we saw there. So they want to get a guy back in there who can, in their opinion, at least win that division, which is a very winnable division now that Tom Brady is gone. Frankly, I'd give the Saints the edge now in that division.
Well, yeah, they have their quarterback. Which is more than you can say about the rest of the division.
Exactly.
I love Blaine Gabbert as much as the next person, but
or Kyle Trask.
Oh my God! Please tell me the Bucs are starting Kyle Trask and gonna race with the Texans for the or I don't even know who else would be in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes.
Yeah, I don't know either. But that who knows what it's gonna look like? That's gonna be a very interesting division next year. And something that's interesting about Derek Carr is that, well, I know too many people aren't that high on him, and I kind of am like indifferent on him. I think that people used to say that Tom Brady was a system quarterback. Derek Carr is a system quarterback. If you get him on a good team with good options, I think he could win you a Super Bowl. If he's on a loaded team, he could win you a Super Bowl.
The question is, are the Saints a loaded team?
I don't know if they're loaded, but they have more potential, I think, than the Raiders do. And here's another thing that I saw that was interesting. During all of Derek Carr's tenure in Oakland/Las Vegas, I think his defense ranked towards the bottom of the league. This Saints team last year had the 5th best, I think something like there was like some sort of defensive metric that had him ranked 5th best in the league. So the thing is, how can Derek Carr do when he has a defense that actually backs him up?
Well, I think, defense
defense
wins games.
Because here's the thing, we're not doubting Derek Carr's, I'm not going to say athletic ability, but we're not doubting his arm. He still has a great arm, and I think that you put him with Michael Thomas, you put him with Alvin Kamara. Well, who else you got on that team down there? I know Kamara's in jeopardy, but who else you got on that team down there?
You have Chris Olave now.
Sure, and he's a great wideout.
Trying to think, oh gosh, who else did they pick up? Yeah, I'm blanking. Taysom Hill.
Yeah, well, still, you do have options down there, and I know there is a situation with Kamara. What's the latest on him again?
I think it's like going forward with like a trial, maybe.
Okay, so we'll have to see what ends up happening there, but I'm gonna say unfortunately, NFL players are rarely held accountable for these kind of things. So the league might suspend him for some games, but I don't think he will face probably any legal action.
Yeah,
this is just typically how things go in the NFL. If a guy ends up facing like outside legal action, it's usually a Henry Ruggs kind of situation, which I just don't know if the league will make into this kind of a situation. I just don't know if that's going to be the case.
I mean, we'll have to see.
But
there'll be a down the wire episode later on.
Yeah. So in the event that he is there though, and you have that team, that's a pretty good roster for Derek Carr to work with, and I think that. He had Devontae Adams last year, was able to showcase some of his ability with him. I know that there were some struggles there at points, but I think if you get him on a well-rounded offense, he can succeed. And
it's at least playoff caliber.
Yeah, we at least saw that in his first couple seasons with Oakland before that whole gruesome leg injury. He was a very good quarterback at that point. So if you can get him back in a situation like that, I think it could be like a smaller Matt Stafford kind of situation where you get him on a team with, more of complete talent. I think he could really showcase himself more. So watch out for that. That's going to be something really interesting going down the stretch. Any other NFL news or segments that you want to talk about? Any storylines? I know Daniel Jones just got paid by the Giants, so they're ponying up some big money for him.
Yeah, they put Saquon on the franchise tag.
Yeah,
which or Saquon.
Yeah. Geno Smith just got the bag in Seattle, which way to go for him.
Way to go, Geno.
I didn't even know this guy was still in the league last year, to be honest with you. Like the fact that he came out, had a Pro Bowl caliber season, and completely revived his career. He's 32 years old now, I think, or 33,
something like that.
I mean, he got drafted back in 2013, and I remember when he was with the Jets, and everyone was hyping him up, and for a long time, I think this is the big thing holding a lot of people back with Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. It's the fact that they're the Jets.
Yeah, the Jets are where quarterbacks go to die.
Exactly. It's quarterback hell. And I think that as soon as Geno didn't work out there, he was just thrown aside like all the other Jets, has-beens. And now we're seeing him revive his career. And frankly, he's a likable guy. He didn't write back. And I'm happy to see it.
Good for him getting 3 years, $105 million.
Yeah. It's an awesome deal for him.
And great for Seattle. I feel like that's a pretty team-friendly contract as well.
Oh, yeah.
And especially with how the quarterback market's going.
Mm-hmm.
And worst case scenario, if Geno gets injured, you still have Drew Lock as backup.
Yeah. And from what we're seeing right now, it seems that a lot of that success in Seattle was Pete Carroll driven and was, very much system kind of thing. So I think that you could really plug and play a lot of guys in that offense. So we'll have to wait and see how that whole thing works out. But
definitely, last but not least, Joe Mixon.
Yeah. So go into that.
Yeah. Joe Mixon recently got in trouble with the law for shooting at kids.
Yeah. Not great. Not a great look for Joe. A tough look for Joe Mixon.
Not a great look for the league either.
No, not at all.
So that's unfortunate.
Yeah. I decided to take some inspiration from John Morant there. Yeah.
Take some John inspiration.
Yeah. And so I didn't have that plan to talk about, but just quickly, John Morant, man, what the hell is this guy getting himself into? Like you have a guy who has everything given to him. And I mean, like everything. And you have all these people exploiting him. His own father, I feel like, is kind of exploiting him in a sense where he's not really being like that, enforced, like telling him to kind of like knock some of the stuff off. He's kind of just like acting like one of his friends. And it's like, you see him go flash a gun on Instagram Live. It's just a terrible look for him. And I'm glad that he admitted to it and said, hey, I need help. I need to kind of reconcile this, but it's a tough look.
I mean, it really just comes down to kind of that the want and the need if you will, to acquire street cred.
Yeah.
You're fine. You don't need it. You already got your bag.
Yeah. And that's the thing where I see with a lot of these NFL players where it's like they have like these like petty kind of like thefts and different things like this. And I'm like, you don't have to be a part of that life anymore.
Yeah. People do that to get out of that lifestyle.
Yes.
You are already out of that lifestyle. You don't have to do this.
Like you can separate yourself from this now. You can like it might seem like not right for you, but you can essentially rest on your laurels, go up to a mansion in the hills and just like chill out.
Yeah.
Like just you can get out. Like I think I saw someone say John Moran is the only person who's ever been trying to get himself into the hood. I'm like, which is
it's exactly what it is. Yeah.
And that's the thing too, because like from what I'm seeing, like John Moran doesn't even come from like that. It seems like he had a very comfortable life growing up. Seems to have had a very good and stable family. Went to a good school, and it's like, why is he trying to become this person that a lot of people are saying that he isn't? And I mean, I can't understand it, but I'm hoping that
street cred.
Yeah, exactly. I'm hoping that he can get himself out of the situation and, he can just get back on the court and being, the superstar caliber player that he is.
You know what this reminds me of a little bit?
What's that?
And I'm going to bring in an obscure music reference here. It reminds me of MC Hammer's attempt at a rap album.
Oh,
like a gangster rap album.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense
because we know who you are at that point.
Yeah.
We know you're
we know who you are. No need to put on an act.
No,
you're fine.
Yeah, exactly. So that's that whole situation, little kind of off kind of like, off
tangent.
the script. Yeah. Little off the script tangent there. But I want to discuss something that I haven't discussed in a while. I want to get into some UFC real quick before we get to Zeke's favorite segment of the show. I used to do this a lot with my with my friend Steve Mushorn. He can't make it right now, but we had UFC 285 this past weekend, and we had a familiar face returning for the first time in 3 years. Jon Bones Jones, the brother of Chandler Jones, fought Cyril Gane from France. Gane, is a terrific fighter, but Jon Jones hasn't fought since before the coronavirus pandemic. This man comes out and takes out the number one, heavyweight, favorite in 2.5 minutes in the first round. Submission, unbelievable. Like the fact that this guy is able to do this at 35 years of age. Did you see the fight?
I didn't get a chance to watch the fight, but I did watch like clips of it.
Sure.
I mean, it's impressive. Everyone talks about kind of being in fighting shape and everything like that. If you're out of it for a while, you should have some rust. There is no scenario in which you should be able to just sit around for 3 years, just get right back into the ring and beat the champion. It shouldn't happen.
And that's the thing too, because I mean, you said sitting around. He hasn't necessarily been sitting around. He's been dealing with a lot of other things. I know he's had the steroid allegation. Well, not steroid allegations, the positive steroid tests that he has had that canceled his fight way back when with Daniel Cormier. He had, most recently that kept him out of for a while was that run in the couple run-ins with the law that he had. So it's not that he hasn't just like been deciding not to fight. He's had his own troubles and stuff like that. But that makes this, almost more impressive. The fact that he's been, having to deal with all this other stuff, not necessarily just like working out and just saying like, oh, I don't want to fight right now. He's been doing a lot of off the mat, off the court. I don't know what to say for this guy, but outside of sports,
outside of the octagon.
Yeah, outside the octagon kind of activities. And, the fact that he's able to return to this, this is why people say that Jon Jones is the best pound for pound fighter of all time, because he can come back, go to the number one guy, doesn't even need like a tune-up fight, like kind of thing. And he just dominates. He's just that freaking dominant. It's insane. And I know right now, some people wish that, the UFC could get Francis Ngannou back and actually get a fight between him and Jones. But Ngannou's a free agent right now. It doesn't seem like he's going to actually ever want to return to the UFC, which is unfortunate. So maybe we get to see something with Stipe Miocic. So that'd be fun.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I don't follow UFC as much as I do some other sports, but
you got to get into it, man. It's so much fun. It's so much fun. Here's the thing. I got into UFC during the coronavirus pandemic because when COVID broke out and all the other sports shut down, Dana White said, screw it. I'm making Fight Island in I think it was like in Saudi Arabia. And he brought all the fighters out there and he just had all these crazy fight cards just ready to go. And it was insane for like like every month you had just like star-studded guys. Like McGregor fought. You had Michael Chandler's debut,
Was
which
Khabib there?
Khabib. You had Khabib on Fight Island. Like, so you had all these crazy guys just going at it. And it was incredible. Like, it was an incredible time to be for myself getting into UFC. It was awesome. And then afterwards, my buddies, my sophomore year, they had the UFC video game, UFC 3. Yeah. And by playing that game and like doing a couple like my careers with it, I was able to like learn all the other like fighters at the different divisions. And then, when the fights would come up, I'd be like,
I've beaten that guy.
I that's kind of what I'd say, but I'd be like, oh shoot, I know that guy. Oh, I know that guy. And like, eventually I kind of had like a really good idea of the different fighters. Now with the new guys, it's a little bit more difficult, but I'm starting to get back into it again. Some guys like Sean O'Malley, Israel Adesanya obviously is great. And then, some other guys like that. So
I'll tell you when I got out of UFC, because I used to like watch UFC a lot more regularly. Sure. And then over Christmas, now I will be honest, I'm a little bit squeamish. Mm-hmm. Over Christmas,
I've been
2013.
So this is
this was like way back. I was watching the UFC fight with my family. It was Anderson Silva versus Chris Weidman 2 in a event me and my family called the rubber leg.
Mm-hmm.
When Anderson Silva's leg wrapped around Chris Weidman's knee, his what is it, femur? I think.
No, it was the
shin.
Femur's the high one. So yeah, it was a
tibula.
Tibula, yeah.
Yeah, his tibula absolutely shattered.
Tibula, fibula, and anything in that lower part of the leg was gone.
It was it still lives in my memory, and I just try to erase it every time that I can.
Yeah. So, I don't know if you saw, but Chris Weidman had the exact same injury happen
I heard about that. I didn't see it.
Yeah.
I was like, stay away.
We're going to watch it right now. Let's watch. Hey, Jamie, pull that. No. So that was I remember seeing that injury. That one was brutal.
And then he tried to stand on it afterwards. Kind
of what happened with McGregor Poirier 3. Yeah. I remember McGregor Poirier 3 because we had like a couple of my buddies from Connecticut, Jake and Tyler. They've been regulars on the show before. Tyler was actually a fellow co-host. We went to Fenway Park, I remember that day, to go watch the Sox play. And then we came back and, myself and a couple of my hometown friends, my sister's friends, we were kind of just like, we kind of all got together to watch the fight. And like, we're all like super hyped up for this thing. And I remember second round, McGregor just kicks and we just see him collapse and we're like, did he like trip? And then we see the replay
and you're like,
we're like, nope, he didn't trip. His leg is shattered. So it was definitely
hate it when that happens.
Yeah. I can't watch the UFC for like a couple weeks after that. But by the time the next actual like main UFC event rolls around, I'm like, screw it. I'll just get back into it. Why not? And I got out of it for a while, but with some good fights coming up, I know Conor McGregor is going to fight Michael Chandler this summer, so that's going to be a ton of fun. We got Israel Adesanya going back for his title belt, and then we have I just saw Leon Edwards and Kamaru Usman are going to do a rematch fight.
Okay,
so they're gonna, Kamaru Usman just lost. I think it was like for the first time in however long. Leon Edwards took the belt from him, so Usman wants that title back, and sure, it's going to be a great fight. Like I'm really excited for that fight because those two have gone at it over the years. So that's kind of what we have in UFC news. So Zeke, I'll throw this off to you for the first time in 3 years. And I have to say this because we did an XFL segment, I believe, on the first ever episode of Down the Wire, which was February 12th, 2020, right before COVID, right before all this stuff started. And it was when my buddies, Tyler Tucker and Carter Adams, we started the show. It was originally just a show with me and Tyler. And then Carter, for the first show, said, hey, can I be your special guest? And I was like, special guest on the first episode. I don't know like how I feel about that, but I was like, you know what? We'll bring you on. We'll have you talk some XFL because we were really into it at the time. It had just started back up for the first time since 2001. So we were like, you know what? Sure. Let's get you on. Like, let's do this. And we had just such good chemistry with it. And I was like, Carter, we'll call you the official like XFL analyst, but he eventually became a regular on the show. And then, when, things happened, we went our separate ways with that. But I'm really excited to talk some XFL. Zeke, I guess we'll call you the new XFL analyst to Down to the Wire.
Glad to be here.
Yeah. Break down some of the past couple weeks for us.
Right. So first things first, the XFL came back. It's XFL 3.0.
Yeah.
The second, first version in 2001, started by Vince McMahon. It folded because the football product was not very good.
No. And also they had guys with full-blown concussions, just admitting they had a concussion, going out and playing in championship games.
Yeah, there was a lot of issues with the XFL version 1.0. They came back for XFL version 2.0 in 2020, and that one was actually it was good. It was good football.
It was great football, actually.
Fantastic spring football. Unfortunately, timing really got in the way.
Yes.
XFL 2.0 took off in 2020, and I don't think I need to remind everyone what happened in 2020.
No.
So
I mean, the XFL getting canceled was one of the least
important,
one of the least newsworthy events of 2020, just because of everything.
Yeah. So, take 3. This one is not from Vince McMahon. It's actually from Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And it's honestly, it should be, shaping up to be a pretty solid product so far.
It seems to at least be a good continuation of where they left off.
Yeah, most of the games have been pretty competitive. There's definitely started to be a little bit more of a hierarchy kind of forming as you do. We're 3 weeks in now.
You're seeing who's pulling ahead.
Yeah, you're seeing who has what it takes and who doesn't. So what I've seen so far is the top teams. According to the standings in the North, we have the DC Defenders, who I believe they're undefeated in the. Oh wait, that was the Houston Roughnecks. Never mind. So the DC Defenders and the St. Louis Battlehawks out of the North. Those are the top 2 teams there. They played last week. DC came out on top. That matchup did end with a little skirmish, little fight.
Yeah. And I'll say this: so when the XFL 2.0 started, all of us here at Down to the Wire, we were all St. Louis Battlehawks fans because the city of St. Louis obviously got screwed over when the Rams left for LA again. And because there isn't any really close team here, we all became Battlehawks fans. And they were actually pretty good at the time. You had Jordan Teamu at quarterback. I think you had PJ Walker as a backup. Or was PJ Walker on a different team?
No, PJ Walker was, I believe, on the Roughnecks.
You are correct. Okay. Yeah. But I remember we had Jordan Teamu.
Heineke was the backup for the Battlehawks.
That's what it was. So we had Heineke, we had Jordan Teamu, and I remember that was just a real team that we actually enjoyed watching on Saturdays.
I'm a proud Battlehawks fan, Kaka,
Fair enough.
So and then out of the South, really the biggest team is the Houston Roughnecks.
Yes.
They're undefeated under head coach Wade Phillips. And technically the second place team there is the Arlington Renegades. They don't have an offense. With all due respect, their defense has willed them to 2 wins. Now, one thing that's really interesting to note, and it's a team that I think has been a little bit unlucky. Their 2 losses came against the top 2 teams in their division, but they're starting to make some noise. I think that the Seattle Sea Dragons really have a good amount of talent on their team.
Ben
DiNucci is really he's playing pretty well. He's leading the XFL in passing yards, passing touchdowns, interceptions, fumbles. He's leading it in every single passing category. He wants to.
He's the Jameis Winston of the XFL.
Yes, I mean, if he cleans up the fumbles, which is possible, he in the last game that they played, he has a pretty clutch gene to him. He drove the ball down the field very efficiently, got them the lead, tied up the game against the St. Louis Battlehawks before the Battlehawks. No, he had the lead. It was only a 2-point lead, though, against the Battlehawks in that Thursday night football week 2 matchup before Jordan A.J. McCarron was able to drive the Battlehawks down the field, kick a game-winning field goal and everything like that. And then in this past game against the Vipers, they were down, and on 4th and 2, Ben DiNucci just says, F it, Josh Gordon, who's on the Seattle Sea Dragons.
And that's the thing too. Like this league, it has a lot of familiar faces that are, kind of just like either guys that, maybe didn't get a fair shot in the NFL, maybe guys that,
Are trying to work their way back.
Josh Gordon is a guy that comes to mind. Martavis Bryant, I know, is in
Yeah,
the league.
he's on the Vipers.
Mm-hmm.
So, Ben DiNucci says on 4th and 2, F it, Josh Gordon's down there somewhere, launches it, 62-yard game-winning touchdown.
Yeah.
Seattle Dragons walk it off in Vegas. So, there's a lot of talent in this league. There's also a lot of very silly names.
Yes.
Like for instance, there's one name that comes to mind, and it is just it's so powerful. There is a player on the Seattle Sea Dragons named Regesterman Ferris.
Jeez.
And then there's another one. Oh my gosh. His last name is, Ranthony Texada. That's another one. So you can have fun even if you're not like a fan of these teams by just enjoying.
Sounds straight out of a Key and Peele sketch.
Yeah, it really does. So we were going through the XFL rosters, me and one of my friends, and we're just scrolling down. We're just like, no, it's honestly the product. I honestly think this is some of the best spring football that I've seen. Almost every single game has been competitive. You have the Vipers and the Renegades. That's a 2-point game. The Battlehawks had an impressive comeback against the Brahmas week 1. They were implementing some of the new XFL rules, which I can get into a little bit.
Yeah, break down a couple of those.
So kicking is a lot different. For kickoffs, you have players lined up at the 30 and 35 yard line respectively, and they no one from those 30 and 35 yard lines can move until the kick returner catches the ball. It prevents injuries. It still has exciting possibilities for kick returns. The only players that are not lined up 5 yards apart from each other are the kicker himself and the kick returner. Other than that, it's just a wall of people, and it's honestly made kick returns pretty exciting.
Sure.
And it makes sure that there are no touchbacks.
Yeah.
Which I enjoy. Seeing a touchback is kind of boring. For punting, there is no more coffin corner punts.
Okay.
They if the ball goes out of bounds past the, I believe, 35-yard line, the ball will be placed at the 35.
Really?
So it encourages punt returns as well.
Pat McAfee must be having a field day.
And then on top of all of this, there is no point after kick.
Ooh.
There is options for a 1-point conversion from the 2-yard line.
Yes, I've heard about
the
these.
2-point conversion from the 5-yard line, or a 3-point conversion from the 10-yard line.
Mm-hmm.
And that 3-point conversion really opens up a lot of possibilities, because we had a situation week 1 where the St. Louis Battlehawks were down to the San Antonio Brahmas. I believe they were down 15-3. So they were down by 12 points.
Yeah.
And the Battlehawks go down. They score a touchdown. They get the 3-point conversion.
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden it's a field goal game.
Yep.
And then they implement another new rule, which is instead of an onside kick attempt,
mm-hmm.
you can still attempt an onside kick if you want.
Yes.
But you could also attempt a 4th and 15 play
mm-hmm.
from the 20-yard line. And if you convert that, your drive continues.
Yes.
So what the Battlehawks did was they converted that 4th and 15, drove down the field, and then scored another touchdown and won the game.
Mm-hmm.
So some of those new rules you gotta see in play. And then, the Seattle Sea Dragons lost to the DC Defenders because of a goal line fumble by Ben DiNucci.
Now, the 4th and 15 play, which is something that I know people have kind of
the USFL did that as well. Yeah,
and it's something that I think that a lot of NFL fans have been wondering if that's something that could make its way to the actual NFL. Is that a rule you'd like to see the NFL implement, or do you like just the idea that the onside kick, it's because of how limited an opportunity it is, like the fact that they actually have to risk something like that? Do you want to see teams like the Kansas City Chiefs just doing these 4th and 15 plays every time if they're down, or do you want to see, you want to see that special teams area of the game really have to get emphasized?
I was never a huge special teams player when I was playing, at least. So I don't have that kind of sentimental value for the onside kick. I like the idea of a 4th and 15 play. It is not easy to pick up 15 yards in one play.
No.
So I think that having a 4th and 15 play is a great possibility. I honestly think that if the NFL implemented it, it would be superior, because no one like it. When was the last time you saw a successful onside kick recovery?
Yeah, it's been some time.
They have made the rules
and even
harder to get an onside kick recovery. So why not?
Yeah, and even if you get that onside kick, like even same thing with the 4th and 15 play, it's no guarantee. So like when's the last time you've seen that successful onside kick and then it actually leads to them going down and winning it? Like it's not like it can be a very rare thing. So you make a good point with that. If 4th and 15 play, if you have any quarterback right now that has to convert it, who's that guy?
In the NFL?
Yes, NFL.
I mean, it's hard to kind of count out someone like Pat Mahomes or Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
I feel like Jalen Hurts might be the underrated option, because he can definitely run 15 yards with his legs.
Mm-hmm.
Make a man miss.
Yep.
Like Lamar Jackson when he's healthy. Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. I think Joe Burrow. Absolutely.
Joe Burrow's got ice in his veins. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So I think, any of those guys, I think they can make that play, which would make a lot of those NFL games interesting down the stretch, and would really have to have those defenses step up, because it's a one-shot play. Like that offense has to go for it. Could be really interesting. So, Zeke, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show today. I know it was pretty last minute, so I do appreciate the. I know you got your hot tea with honey.
I got a little singing rehearsal later for the musical.
Oh man, I didn't know that, so I'm so sorry.
Don't worry.
All right, I hope your voice stays in tune for the remainder of this show, but we're gonna send this thing and have it be all down to the wire now. So
I mean, if you want me back for more XFL content, I would love to be back on.
I mean, I love to have you back. I don't know about these guys, but I sure would like to have you back on. So we're now down to the wire. Gonna wrap up what we talked about. First things first, thanks again to Pat Edwards for coming on the show. He zoomed in for a little talk on Aaron Rodgers and, possible speculation that he'll be going to the New York Jets. We talked about that, as well as how the New England Patriots will fare in a potential new look AFC East. We got, dove into the latest on Lamar Jackson and Derek Carr, and also previewed the UFC. Not previewed, we reacted to UFC 285, Jon Jones submission against Cyril Gane. And finally, we had a old segment come back to the show. XFL, Zeke led that segment. So Zeke, thanks again for doing all that. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I love talking. I love talking football. Love talking some XFL, baby.
Absolutely. So if you guys aren't following Down the Wire at this point, make sure you guys go follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all those streaming platforms. We're also on YouTube, and you can find us on Instagram at down.tothewire. Again, at down.tothewire on the IG. Zeke, anything you want to shout out for yourself?
Just shout out my family. As always, supporting me, keeping me sane. So.
Absolutely. All right. Well, from Down the Wire, I'm Brian Costa.
And I'm Zeke Kransdorf.
And we hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Take care and peace out.